And this is all it does when I load the tape. So we have to figure out what's going on. I think that maybe the end sensors are not working correctly. I'm looking into the circuitry here because I'm trying to figure out as to why it wasn't ejecting, and also it's sometimes it is having trouble detecting the presence of a tape. Okay guys, so as we seen earlier today, when we put a tape in, all it would want to do is continuously fast forward. And basically what I think is happening is it's not detecting that there's a tape there. And so if we go on to this circuit board, also there's a pulse detection that has to happen. And I don't think it's happening. I actually got my multimeter out here because I'm doing some voltages. I'm testing stuff, and I'm testing voltages, testing capacitors, transistors, just trying to figure out what exactly might be the problem. So we'll know pretty soon. We'll know. I think we'll know what the problem is. But if we look on this board here, this board, the end sensor, the tape end sensor, is plugged into this particular circuit board. Right up here is where the end sensor plugs into, right? So this tape end sensor, it plugs into the circuit board here. Also, so it does have one capacitor, regular capacitor that I can see, that those typically go out. Now this is a 16 volt 22 microfarad capacitor. Also I can see a couple of these light blue Sony capacitors, and these typically can go bad. The bigger one actually was okay. So this one that's next to my thumb, the one in front of my thumb, that one tested okay. But the small one, however, has tested bad. So the multimeter says that it's a little low, and if I plug it into the ESR meter, it's high on ESR. So I'm going to change that, because I mean, I'm thinking that one's bad, and that's causing some of our problems. I think it's just these capacitors. The light blue Sany caps, yeah, definitely those ones do have a tendency to go bad. And then of course up here we've got this one, which is on the circuit board that controls the end of tape sensor. And so not only the end of tape, but the supply side as well. For I think this is the tape end sensor for the supply side, and this is for the take-up side. So one of the end sensors I suspect is not working, and I suspect, and that's why we're having issues where the tape, all the tape is doing is forwarding. It just keeps going forward, and that's because it's not detecting that there's a tape there. The sensors basically detect, they detect the leader. So if it thinks that the leader is showing, then it'll forward the tape until it doesn't see the leader anymore. When it sees that there is in fact a tape there, then what it'll do is it'll activate the solenoid, and so that you can hit play, and it'll engage play. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to change out some of these caps, these 3 capacitors. I'm going to take them out, replace them, and we'll go from there. Because these machines, what they'll do is if the leader is detected, it'll automatically fast forward the tape a couple of seconds long enough to show the tape. And so if the tape has been rewounded completely all the way back, and there's going to be a leader that's going to be exposed for quite some time, so the machine will, and Sanyos do the same thing. They'll fast forward through the leader, and when there's a tape present, then it stops and you hit play and it'll start to play. So what it does is essentially fast forwards the tape until the leader is no longer being read, and then it will allow you to engage play or rewind or fast forward, whatever it is you want to do. So these 3 caps were changed, or the light blue Sanyo caps. One of them was a 1 microfarad at 16 volts. See, the other one I believe was a, what one was that one? 16 volt at 22 microfarad, and then we had a 22, another 22 microfarad at 16 volts. So now I didn't have a 16 volt at 1 microfarad, so I replaced it with a 25 volt at 1 microfarad capacitor. So I'll change these. I changed them, and the machine is working good now. So it was just a simple hunch. Well, it was a hunch that I had, because knowing about these light blue ones, knowing that they are prone to failure, especially now that they're 30 plus years old. The caps don't last forever. So these 2 I've changed. Those are the 2 light blue ones I changed and put these in. So this is the you can see it's a 25 volt 1 microfarad. This one is a 16 volt at 22, but I didn't have a 16 volt. No wait, this is a 33. That was a 16 at 33, and then there was a 16 at 22, and I didn't have a 16, but I did have a 25, so I put a 25 in. So what this section of the board does here, it's oh wait, I've also replaced, I replaced Well, didn't I have 4 of them? Might have changed 4 of them, I don't know. But there's one there that I changed, and that was also a 22 microfarad 16, so I put a 25. Hey guys, so I've now got this thing to not only play tapes, but I've got it to rewind, and this is good. So let me show you the progress I made, and let me show you what I still need to do to this thing, and that basically is going to be me replacing the cassette housing. I may even try to repair the cassette housing, but if I've got another one that works, that's what I'm going to put in. But we might do some assessment as to why the cassette housing is having some issues. But so now what we can do is put our cassette in. Play. Now, if you guys remember, this thing was not detecting that there was a tape. It would load, but the tape kept wanting to forward because it couldn't find a detection of the tape. It couldn't detect that there was a tape there, and so it wasn't actually finishing the loading cycle, because it's supposed to hear a clicking sound, you know, and so, but I didn't hear that. But anyway, let me show you what's going on now. We'll show you. So now if we hit stop and we hit rewind, we now have rewind. And we always had fast forward, so we always had that, but we were getting an issue with the play, because the play wasn't wanting to work. And I've already showed you that I replaced the capacitors on that circuit board, which basically made this thing work again. So if you know, I was correct about the tape-in sensors not working. So the tape-in sensors weren't working correctly. Now, I was thinking, okay, maybe I need to just replace the in sensor. But then I got to thinking, no, it may not be the sensor, because the tape-in sensors on these, I've never seen them fail. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, it's just that I've never seen a tape-in sensor fail before. At least not in the sense of having the actual part fail. So, replacing the capacitors on that board is basically fix the issue. Now if we hit eject, and it wants to eject at an angle. In fact, when you go to put it in, it wants to go in at an angle like that, see? And then when it comes out at an angle like that. So, you know, and it's hard to make the cassette go in too when it's like that. So we have to fix that. But you see, now it's detected, the in sensor is now detecting. So we were basically missing a voltage for the in sensors, and they were causing the issue. So without that capacitor there to hold that charge and to deliver a certain amount of voltage, the machine's not gonna, those end sensors aren't gonna work. So basically, display. It's got a good picture, so we don't have to worry about doing anything else other than just taking care of the cassette housing. Yeah, this is the Clone Wars movie. This was the movie pilot, basically. But we have rewind, and it works really, really good now. And I'm going to reset the counter. And of course, we always had fast forward. And it's got a good picture now. So, now if we hit eject, and it wants to come in out at an angle, so what do we have to do left? What's left to do on this machine? Well, we have to just replace the cassette housing, and that is the only thing I need to do. But anyway, what I was wanting to, I don't know if you guys caught in the video, and I'm not sure if I caught the footage of what it was doing yesterday when I was working on it, where the tape would thread, but the solenoid wasn't engaging, and the tape was moving forward, and the solenoid was not engaging. Now, another thing that was going on is that it was wanting to eject the tape early. So before the tape was even unthreaded, it wanted to eject it. So it wasn't even completing the unloading cycle. This was actually causing a couple of different faults, and it was all related to those tape-in sensors not working correctly. So the tape-in sensor over here is for the supply side. The end sensor over here on the right side is for the end of tape sensor. So, well, they both sense the leader. Basically, they can either sense that if they sense that there's a leader showing, it'll stop the machine. And if they sense there's tape there, it'll continue to play or rewind or fast forward or whatever the hell you want to do to it. But those end sensors were not detecting any tape. They weren't even detecting. Yeah, basically, you couldn't rewind because it was thinking that the tape was already at the end. So it wasn't allowing me to rewind, and it was all due to those stupid tape-in sensors. And that was causing the whole issue. So the next thing I gotta do now is we'll just go ahead and replace the cassette housing. We may take a look at the cassette housing and see if there might be a tooth that's been skipped, because the faults that this machine was having, I mean, first of all, we had the power supply problem. But then we had the eject problem, we had the no rewind problem, and so basically what I've done here, oh yeah, and the picture quality was bad because I had the, I think I had the MPX, the PCM filter on, and if that's on, it'll sometimes it can cause that. But anyway, we need to replace the cassette housing, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so the next thing we do is, well, we're going to unplug the machine, and we're going to go ahead and change out the cassette housing. I've got a cassette housing out of another machine that I can put in here, and we'll get it working again, because this particular machine, now this model was based off of the 300 and the 500, but it added Super Beta, and it added a third head. So the SOH of 400 and the SOH of 600, both of those machines, they've added, well, no, wait a minute. The 400, all they did was added Super Beta, okay? But the 600, they added a third video head. Why did they put 3 heads in the 600? Because they wanted you to be able to go have perfect pause and have somewhat of a frame by frame by just repeatedly hitting the button or holding the button down like that, and then it would advance. It'll advance like 1 frame at a time. And so yeah, but yeah, the 400, they just added Super Beta to it, because the SOH of 300, the SOH of 500 are hi-fi stereo machines. But when they invented the 400, they added Super Beta. So they became a Super Beta hi-fi. And then the 600, they added a third video head. And they added a frame-by-frame button. So, it's pretty cool. This is a nice little model. This is not an expensive unit, but hey, it's definitely a nice little unit. So, it's more midline use, midline. So I know the customer will be very happy to have this thing back, and this thing is now working. Well, we've changed the cassette housing. This particular cassette housing is a little different. This was the B22, okay? And when I say B22, I mean this is the later generation B2. This came out of a parts deck, parts 1000 deck that I have. So this cassette housing came out of an SLH of 1000, where it's slightly different. But also, I'm got a cleaning brush here, and I'm just getting off all the dust, taking the dust out of the inside of here. I'm gonna clean the filter, and I'm also gonna clean the screen and all that. I'm gonna do a lot of cleaning. Also, I'm gonna see if I can do anything about getting the see-through window to look any better. This has got a little plastic piece here, and I'm not sure what this is here for, other than maybe just for reinforcement, or so that the top cover doesn't go down too far, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so I'm working on it, and we'll show you the old one here. So if you look at the old one, well, this is the one that's, you see how different they are? You see how this doesn't have, see how this has a cover that covers the belt, this portion of the tooth belt, and this one, the tooth belt is exposed. So this came out of a B, because this 600 is a B21 design. The B22 is just a little bit different, and also the 1000 is different because it doesn't use this little belt tensioner and this little cap here to keep the belt from flying off. Actually has a mounted plastic piece that fits on to keep the belt from coming off. And like I said, the B22s, they eliminated the tensioner and they eliminated this little tiny plastic cover, and they went to a white, big white cover, plastic cover that covers quite a bit and keeps the belt from flying off. So, but that's really the difference in the design of the last B2 chassis had just a little bit of a different mechanism as far as the cassette housing and the belt tensioner. But that's where we're at so far, and when we get this thing plugged in, and we'll make sure that the tape ejects properly, where it's not going to come out at an angle anymore. And we're going to take a look at this one and see if maybe we can determine as to what was causing the tape to kind of come out at an angle. And I got a suspicion that maybe it's skipped a tooth, and that's one of the reasons why it's having issues. And yeah, it'd be good to fix this. I'm gonna fix this because I could repair this and then put it into another machine. Yeah, I would say that looks a whole lot better, don't you guys? Now we just gotta clean the front. So I still gotta clean the front here, but we'll do that last. After I've got this machine working 100% and this thing, you know, performs well, we'll put the top back on, and we will do, we'll send it back to its owner. But let's just put the cassette in here. I've got a cassette. This has been recorded in Super Beta 2 speed with hi-fi stereo, and it was recorded last year. So 3-6-2022, so that would have been, yeah, last year. So alright, let's see what happens. Alright, eject. There we go. Works. We're gonna put it back together, and we'll see what we can do with the cleaning. And I'm gonna clean the door, the little window, not a door, but it's a window, clean the little see-through window that allows you to see the tape inside. So here's the top. See how hazy it is? How just really clouded and hazy and not looking good at all. It's kind of like got little mini scratches and stuff. So what I'll do is I will do Novus 3, 2, and 1 on this thing, and that should help bring this see-through window back to life. So I got the tracking dead center, and it's got perfect tracking. Now the tape is pretty bad shape because it's been chewed, because it's been used as a testing tape, and so it's quite chewed up, and it's actually shedding its oxide, which is something that I never seen Sony cassettes do, but this one seems to be shedding its oxide just a little bit. Well, I think we've went long enough on this video. What I am going to do is clean the switch down here with some contact cleaner, because that switch does tend to get dirty, and it'll cause if that switch doesn't work, what it'll do is the tape in sensor switch is down there, the tape insert switch. the switch that detects a tape is present, and then it starts its threading cycle. Okay, so that switch, if it gets dirty, what'll happen is the tape will just go in, it'll sit there for a while, and it'll just kick it back out. So let me show you the switch, because it's something you guys should know. And the switch I'm talking about is these two switches here. These two tape insert switches. When the cassette is down, if those switches get dirty, then they have a tendency to not work. They're not making contact. So I'm just gonna spray a little cleaner down there. There we go. That'll be enough to, and then we'll activate the switch a couple times just to work its way in. So now when we insert the cassette, and it inserts in. Of course, this tape is in really bad shape. Like I said, this has been chewed up I don't know how many times. So, but I am going to go ahead and clean the video heads, the audio heads, the tape path, clean everything. And then we'll put the cover on for the final time, and then we'll do the very final assessment at the end of the video, and we'll determine as to, okay, how well is this machine working. Also, you know, it'd be probably a good idea for me to do like a little test recording or something. His heads are clogged. Yeah, it was out of all the tracking was off just a hair. But yeah, the tape's not in very good shape. The Clone Wars movie. I like that movie. And you'll notice the tape doesn't come in at an angle anymore. Like I said, we're gonna get to the bottom of this one. We'll probably do a video on this later on, and I'll show you how to time these things. It's fairly easy because there's timing marks on the gears and stuff, so it's quite easy to repair if you've got the parts needed, you know. Now, one thing you'll notice is that what it could do is change out the plate here, because the plate is actually, see, this was supposed to have a longer plate here, because that screw is supposed to go into this one, and but I might change out the plate here, because although the plate's different, so yeah, it's got a different plate on it, so I can't do that. But anyway, we'll clean the heads, we'll clean the audio and control track, the erase head, we'll do all that stuff. And this is the tensioner This is for the tension on the tape. Sometimes that will fail. So yeah, well, let's go ahead now and hey, I'm gonna clean the heads. I'm gonna put the cover back on, and I'll do some cleaning on the top of the cover. Well, guys, this is the final assembly. This thing is ready to go back home. I did, you know, I noticed it all up, and you can see it looks a little better. You know, I think if we had more sunlight shining through, you can see it, but it is starting to get dark because it's evening now. So I've been working on this all day. I've been working on this the last 2-3 days, working on this thing, getting this thing fixed, and taking care of all the problems that this one had. So I'm very happy with the way the Novus brought out the shine. So it's a little shiny now than it was. It's not as dark and hazy like it was, you know. Just take a nice little piece of clean paper towel here and just clean this all up. I also cleaned the front faceplate. You can see the shine now. See that? You can see the shine and everything. So let's go ahead and put in the Jetsons. This is the movie. So let's go ahead and pop this on. You can see the view meters are nice and bright now, and you can see that my hand in the reflection of the plastic. Now let's go ahead and put this in. Now one thing you'll notice there is it did forward the tape just a little bit. That's because the tape leader was exposed, and so it forwards until it can't see the leader anymore. And there we go. And these tapes are pretty old, so they're not gonna, you know, have no dropouts. You know, there's dropouts because, hey, these tapes are 30 plus years old, and yeah, this is I can pretty well be safe on this because this is advertisement. But anyway, yeah, I mean, this thing just performs beautifully now, you know. We got forward, reverse, but yeah. So if we adjust the tracking, we get the picture quality just a little bit better by doing that. We'll adjust the tracking. I'm just adjusting the tracking. The sharpness control, there's a rolling, it's got a roller for the tracking adjustment, and it's got a roller for the sharpness adjustment. So this has got a sharpness adjustment right here. I've set it in the middle. That's usually where people want it, is right there, dead center in the middle, for sharpness. You can lower the sharpness and it'll kind of help get rid of some of the graininess to the tapes. Sony had that on their VHS machines as well, and having that sharpness, softness control really does a good job on cleaning up the image and making the image look really good. We'll just forward it through until we can see the image. There we go. Now the digital TVs, this digital TV I have seems to not want to show the picture in picture search, and it doesn't matter what machine I use, because you'll see, you know, partial flickers of the show. If we had it hooked up to an analog monitor, it would you would see the scan lines. But also, this is I mean, this is a 3-head, so the scan lines shouldn't be too bad. It always looks really good with cartoons. The difference in the quality, picture quality between beta and VHS, you really will see that. You will see it in an animated movie or show. And a cartoon is always going to give you the best image as far as doing comparison between beta and VHS. And I've thought about buying this movie on VHS and then doing a comparison video between the two formats. And of course, I'd want to play it back in a higher end deck, like well, I've got my HF600 there that I like to use for transferring tapes to digital. You know, they say that, you know, tapes will deteriorate at a point where all the information will be lost. That really depends on how you store your tapes. If you're storing your tapes in a really damp, wet environment, where they're stored in an unheated environment, a room that's not temperature controlled, your tapes will deteriorate. You know, it really depends on taking care of your tapes. You take care of them, they'll last a long time. I mean, this tape is 30 plus years old and it still plays pretty decent. So I can't show that too much, but happy with the way this machine is performing. It's performing beautifully. And you can, you know, really see the reflection now of the... See, the Novus really does bring the... it really does bring back the shine of the plastic. I used both 3, 2, and 1 on all of the plastic, especially the display here. The filter, I cleaned the filter on the other side, and then I cleaned the front part, and you can see that the display is bright. Not as bright as it would be as if it was brand new, but you know, it's pretty close. But this machine has been fully restored back to working condition. I know that the seller is going to, or the owner, I mean, the owner is going to be very happy with the way this is performing. So he's going to be able to play back all of his tapes. And this machine, this is a nice machine. You know, it's a mid-range model, you know. VTR on or off. There's the VTR on or VTR off. Turn it on. Yeah, the image is very, very good. Playing this. This is a good image quality. And, you know, yeah, I wanted to play a cartoon in this because I know it would give it the best picture quality. So, I'm going to go ahead and rewind this now. Back to the beginning. And then we'll go ahead and eject it, and we'll send it back home as soon as he pays me. We'll send it back home. And we'll reset the counter. There we go. Not sure what that is. This is counting. There we go. Works. It's beautiful. So, there we go, guys. Well, I think you guys pretty well seen this thing has now been restored, repaired. Not restored, but it's been repaired and cleaned up. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that was done to this machine to bring it back to life. First of all, we had a power supply problem. Second of all, we had a eject problem. Third of all, we had a rewind problem. Fourth, the final thing wrong with it, the cassette housing had something wrong with it because it kept wanting to spit tapes out crooked, or it would not, or it would start to eject and then it would put the tape back in and rethread because the cassette housing had a problem. So when it comes out and it starts coming out in an angle, that you know you got something wrong. But we'll have to do a video on repairing that other cassette housing. But so we've solved power supply. We have rewind now. Power works. We have rewind. We have eject. Everything is working. Insertion and ejecting tapes are working really good. So everything, clean the video heads, the tape path, everything. This machine is definitely ready to go back home and get back to its owner. So the owner told me that he had seen this at a thrift store, and so he bought it and wanted to get it fixed. So now he has this thing nice and fixed, and hey, this thing looks so good with the Novus. When you do Novus 3, 2, and 1, really brings out the shine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that this video was quite long and quite extensive. That's why I put it in 2 parts, but even part 2 is a little longer than I wanted it to be. But hey, now the customer is, hey, I know the customer is going to be happy. So now I have to contact the customer, and also if he's watching this video, I've got a different email that I'm using because I had a problem with the one email that I have that I use. So yeah. Anyway, I've got a new email that I'm using. My new email is thebetamaxman@hotmail.com. So that's the new email. Anyway, see you guys later. Bye-bye.